Welcome to Tied Down TV, the punk rock opinion show with me, Danny.
And Geoff.
And today we're picking our top 5 indie albums. What's indie?
Loaded question, if you ask me. Much like we did with New Wave, though, last week, I think it's not the easiest to define. And I actually think indie, for me personally, encompasses quite a lot of sub-genres, if you like.
Yeah.
But, so I think if you're going to talk about the origins, originally it meant independent.
That's what I always thought.
It did. It meant you released on independent labels. But a lot of the bands that ended up being labelled indie ended up releasing on majors as well.
So is it a sound or not?
I don't think it's a sound. I don't know what it is.
It's similar to what people used to say about Motown.
Yeah, I guess
Because people would say, I'm into Motown, but
Yeah.
then they'd say they're into like stuff that isn't even on Motown.
Okay.
Like the OJs and stuff like that. And you'd be like,
yeah.
well, hang on, that's Philadelphia International for a start.
But I think where you want to start, things started getting called indie or indie rock, as they did, or indie pop. You've got to talk about, I think in America, college radio stations were playing a lot of the jangly bands, especially the Smiths and REM. And obviously they became, huge bands in themselves anyway. But in the UK, you had, what was it called? C86 tape, the NME released like a compilation, which had I think Primal Scream were on there and a few others. You've got the developments of shoegaze, Britpop. Then you had the 2000s where the garage revival and all the skinny jean wearers all kind of got called indie as well. The post-punk revival bands like Interpol and stuff like that. For a brief period, I guess stuff like Coldplay was called indie. Travis.
See, I wasn't really a fan of the Britpop thing, and I know a lot of that got lumped into being called indie,
Absolutely,
didn't it?
yeah.
But I also didn't like as well the likes Coldplay's too obvious, but the likes of your Travises and Keens and bands like that to me were just quick money making machine bands.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What was popular at the time.
There's something really ungenuine about them bands, I think. You might hear it and have a nice song, a nice ear candy song, but it's not, there's something a little bit
not much substance behind it.
Yeah, it feels like it's a bit of a plant to me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. 100% get what you're saying. So to sum up, I actually don't really know the sound.
So we've picked 5 albums that we think would be classed as indie.
I have, and I know you have as well.
Yeah.
And some of mine, some people might want to try and say they're not, but for me they are, because I said, loads of different sounds kind of are encompassed in indie music. So yeah, I do think you should kick us off though.
Okay, so I have picked the Smiths. So which album have I picked? That's the question. Now, I love the Smiths, and when people say, who's your Beatles? Who's your Beatles?
Yeah,
and some people have the Beatles, some people have the Rollins. Who's your big band that is so unbelievably fantastic? And so, everyone's got their Beatles. Yeah, people would say the Beatles or Rolling Stones or Queen. Who's your Beatles? Well, mine Beatles are the Smiths. They always were. I understand that the legacy has probably been tainted by some of the things Morrissey has said in later years. That's for other people to discuss. We're not discussing that. We're talking about the band, right? Unfortunately, I couldn't just pick 4 Smiths albums for this list, could I? I love pretty much all 4 of their studio albums as much as each other. But if I had to pick one, I've gone for Meat is Murder, 1985. I've probably gone for this because it's probably, for me, the most Northwest relatable.
Okay.
All right, and I'll go through why. So the first song, The Headmaster Ritual.
Yeah, great song.
Right, he could easily be singing about Aldershot.
Okay,
The school I went to could easily be singing about talking about fucking crazy fucking insane fucking headmasters, paedophilic PE teachers. Anyone who went to Aldershot at the time I was there, just ask them about Mr. Ward.
Well, I'll be honest with you, there's an exact thing from the school I went to as well.
Mr. Ward,
and
honestly,
PE teacher
right,
as well.
listen onto him, right. Ask anyone, Bolson, get him off now! Honestly, in the shower after PE. No, sir, I'll leave me no! Boxers off now! And he would do that with everyone, and he'd make sure that you didn't get out that shower until your boxies were off. And he'd stand there with his little seedy moustache and his big mad Krusty the Clown hair. The Headmaster Ritual just reminds me of Aldershot so fucking much. Rush Home Ruffians is the Wirral Show.
Yeah.
We used to have something here called the Wirral Show, like a travelling fair that was on once a year. Got closed down because the amount of trouble that was going on there.
I guess we got stabbed there.
Yeah, honestly, and that is just Rush Home Ruffians. What She Said even has a line that says, it took a tattooed boy from Birkenhead to really, really open her eyes. Born in Birkenhead. Tattooed boy, born in Birkenhead.
There you go.
So there's just so many things in there, and it's just brilliant. They're all on, you know, and this was the album where Stephen Street on board to engineer. And if you hear the first album, probably better song for song, I'd say, actually. But the production and I think Stephen Street being on board with all that, the production goes up a level, and it just takes it to that extra level. The only song I can't really listen to on this is the last song, Meter's Murder, because it upsets me. It's a sad song, isn't it? And we know what it's about, and you hear the abattoir at the beginning and all that stuff, and the pain of the cow and stuff like that. I just kind of that's the only song I can't listen. Well, the Smiths, one thing you can always say about the Smiths, early on the demo tracks, nothing they've released was ever shit. No. That's how special they were. Nothing they've ever released is shit. Even their B-sides are as good as their singles a lot of the time. And like I said, I could have just done this list all Smiths, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's how much I love the Smiths. I've been on Smiths pilgrimages and everything. I love the Smiths. And yeah, another thing that's special about them is they really paint you a picture of where they grew up and the Manchester landscape and stuff like that. And the whole of the Northwest, really.
Yeah.
I think if you're a man or a woman actually of a certain age, you will definitely be able to relate to the Smiths stuff.
Unbelievable band, yeah. I was going to pick a Smiths album as well, but I knew you would cover all bases. So yeah, great stuff. All right, so my first pick, this is a band who I would say were quite influenced by the Smiths, definitely in their jangly sound. I've gone for the Housemartins, London Nil Hole 4. And this was one that I didn't intend to pick originally.
What's on that?
But when we put it out on the socials, somebody commented this album, I thought, fucking hell, yeah. You know, it's indie pop, basically, jangly.
Yeah.
Fucking the tunes, man, on this album, every song is great. Happy Hour, Get Up Off Our Knees, Flag Day, Anxious.
Happy Hour could easily be a Smith song.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's definitely influeed. You know, this came out in, I think, 86, yeah? So obviously the Smiths were a going concern by then. Definitely influenced by that sound. It's just, I feel like it's a little bit underrated, to be honest, even though they had a couple of big hit singles. I don't think anyone thinks of them as a band with a good album in their canon, and I think this is amazing. Lyrically, Heaton covering the topics of politics, religion, everyday dramas, all kind of rolled into one. It says it on the insert in here, actually, it kind of gives you a rough idea. And it's don't try gate crashing the party full of bankers, burn the house down, take Jesus, take Marx, take hope. And that was where they stood, I think, at the time. I'm not sure his religious standings are still the same, but I know his politics pretty much are. Sweet melodies, beautiful pop songs, witty, funny lyrics. It's amazing. Yeah, there you go.
I'm staying in Manchester for my next pick. 1989, self-titled by the Stone Roses. One of the greatest British albums ever. I'm sure you'll agree if you're watching this video and are into indie music. I think when you're talking about, if Manchester has a sound, I don't know if there is a specific Manchester sound. I know there's a lot of brilliant Manchester bands, and we covered it in a video before. But if there was a specific Manchester sound and attitude, this is it, in my opinion. The Stone Roses are it. The whole Manchester swagger and the baggy pants and all that Manchester thing and the dancing and all that stuff. The Stone Roses, you know, that combination of guitar music with psychedelia and rave and all that type of stuff. You know, you look, this has even gone as far as influence, I think you could say now, a lot of bands who are coming out of the hardcore scene. You look at High Vis and stuff like that. Really, really influential. What a thing I really love about the Stone Roses as well, as opposed to a lot of what you would call indie bands, is all their songs have a real like kind of, there's a lot of hope in their music. You know, there's a lot of like, there's nothing depressing really about the Stone Roses.
Uplifting.
Yeah, it's really uplifting, even in the artwork, as you can see. If it's still up on YouTube, I'd recommend everyone check out a documentary on there. I think it was called Blood on the Turntable, and it's a documentary about the Stone Roses and how they came to an end and what their then manager had the hand he had in that. Right. And the guy, honestly, they interview all the Stone Roses, they interview the manager, and what a piece of shit he was. But it's hilarious because he's like a Scooby-Doo villain, and he's telling the story, and they're like, you know, this happened and that happened, and then he'd come out with his excuse why he did that. Right. And it's hilarious. Honestly, Blood on the Turntable, I'm sure that's what it was called, and it's a Stone Roses documentary about their demise, and it is so fucking funny. Check that out, and check this out, even though I'm sure you have. Go on.
What's your best song?
Oh, good question. All right. You know what my best song is?
Go on.
When I'm in a Stretford end and the Reds are coming out. This is the one. This is the one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one. Why? What's your favourite?
Oh, that's a tough one. Resurrection is obviously one, but it is an amazing song.
Obviously, I Want to Be Adored is a brilliant opener as well.
I think almost every song, and that's amazing. She bangs the drums.
That's a great song too.
Amazing song.
Waterfall's a great song.
It's full of great songs. I think I Am the Resurrection is the one though.
Yeah. Right, now Elizabeth, my dear, if anyone ever listens to that, only about a minute long, that is an absolute rip-off of Scarborough Fair, isn't it? By Simon and Garfunkel. But yeah. What an album, mate. What an album.
Great pick. And that had to get in this list, isn't it? All right, second one for me. I've gone for Psychocandy by the Jesus and Mary Chain. Some people might come at me and say it's not indie, it's noise pop or whatever, but I'd say it falls under indie. Look, they released on Creation Records. Don't get much more indie than that. So if you don't know them, obviously Jim and William Reid from Scotland. In 1980, they decided to quit the job and they said they wanted to make a band that sounded like Ein Strays and New Barton, however you might have butchered that a bit, Velvet Underground and the Shangri-Las.
Does it sound like the Shangri-Las?
The melodies, you can hear the influence. Mm-hmm. It's like sweet melodic melodies buried in bursts of noise and feedback. Mm. It's dreamy at times, it's noisy at times. It's amazing though. So many great songs. Like I said, like vocally, it's definitely a pop record almost, but it's obviously got the noisy and the distorted sounds and bursts of noise. But Bobby Gillespie plays drums on this as well, who, if you know, is the frontman of Primal Scream, because he had like a bit of a hand. I think he found that he heard their demo, passed it on to Alan McGee of Creation Records. He put out their first single and off they went. But yeah, this, like I say, if you haven't heard it, it's just fucking stunning. Like if you just sit back and listen to it, be prepared. Might not actually be for everyone, but it's the melodies and they're so fucking good, so beautiful. Yeah, awesome. And they look cool as fuck as well, just in black with shades on and that.
To Liverpool now, 1990, self-titled by The La's. Now, when you know the first time I became familiar with The La's?
I mean, it's got to be There She Goes.
Right, yeah. But why? Where would I have heard that for the first time? The 1993 Mike Myers classic, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Okay.
Woman! Whoa, man! Whoa, man!
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing film.
That's great.
Yeah, that's got a good soundtrack, not just There She Goes.
Long time
obviously, There She Goes is the main title track, or is the main like theme to So I Married an Axe Murderer. But one thing that I remember hearing that when I was a kid, I remember when I finally found out about the band, being really surprised, not only that they were English, but also that they were from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that was a really big surprise for me when I first found that out. Now, interesting band, The Laws. Lee Mavers, who was the main songwriter, who's like one of the real famous recluses, literally did this and then kind of disappeared into the shadows. And I know a lot of like reporters and that see it as a bit of an how would you call it? Like a bit of a red herring if they can get an interview with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like he's one of those, like he's a real collector's item.
Yeah.
But you know, they dropped this album and it's so good. Like I said, like anyone who knows me knows I'm not a fan of the Beatles. And when people say, like, I always go on about bands from Manchester, I think I think they're far superior to the bands from Liverpool for the most part. My favourite band from Liverpool is actually, in terms of pop music, is actually The Real Thing. But when people say to me, oh, what they say about guitar bands from Liverpool, I go, yeah, we have got a good guitar band from Liverpool, The Laws. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. But you look at like Son of a Gun opens up with Doldrum is amazing. Don't go down. But yeah, Essential listening, similar to came out or the year after, I think, of the Stone Roses, but them two together, I mean, that's like a golden period for this type of music when you look at it, you know.
100%.
Yeah, it's just
there's so much lore around that, all the stories about him recording it and shit.
Yeah.
He had to use yellow jack leads, I heard.
Yeah.
He had dust that was preserved from the 60s that he wanted to sprinkle on the amps to get that mad. He hates it, by the way, as well.
He hates the album.
Hates the sound of it, yeah. Doesn't sound like he wanted it to
apparently
sound.
He's out on for this as well. Apparently he's wrote loads of music and refuses to release it now.
Absolutely. Well, what's his name? Is it John Powers or whatever, the one who's the singer of Cast, who was the bass
player? Cast, yeah.
I was reading an interview with him a few years ago, and he said when the Lars did get back together in maybe the 2000s, early 2000s, for like a couple of shows, Mathers said, started talking about maybe recording some stuff, and he said, yeah, but we need to get the first album right first.
Yeah.
So he's still not over it by the sounds of it. And a quick other quip about the Lars. A mate of mine used to busk in Liverpool, and Lee Mathers dropped £1 in his guitar case when he walked past him. So there you go.
So is it Mathers?
I always say Mathers. I actually don't know.
I say Mathers, like Quavers.
Yeah, okay. So, there you go.
I don't know what it is, though.
All right, next one for me. I've gone for In the Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel.
Who the fuck are they?
It's like a lo-fi, indie folk, bit of psychedelic.
You just made them up, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, it does sound like a made-up name. But that's the second and last album by the band, run by Geoff Mangum. Very beautiful, painstaking vocals. The lyrics are quite obtuse and a little bit obnoxious, maybe even at times. Hard to decipher what he's saying. But there's definite themes of like love and passion for life, and also I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Anne Frank Diary, because a few of the songs are kind of like lifted lyrics from that. There was a story when they were recording it, and I don't know what her job was. It was a woman who was working at the studio, and they were mixing one of the songs. I think it was O Comely, and she just broke down in tears, like the emotion of the song just weight and it hit her. But all that aside, I just think it's a fucking great record. Great tunes. The King of Carrot Flowers, the first part 1 and part 2 at the start. The title track and The Aeroplane Over the Sea, amazing. Highly influential album, to be fair. It did become a bit of a hipster classic as well, unfortunately. But all that
surprised at that name.
It was brilliant. So it came out in the 90s. They started getting bigger and touring more, and Geoff Mangum was like, he couldn't deal with it. He had like mental health issues, and he just fucking said, I'm not touring. And then the band kind of went into hiatus, and I think sparingly got back together, played a few shows, and then disappeared again. But yeah, that's it. That's my third pick. So if you've not heard that again, check it out. It's In the Aeroplane Over the Sea.
I'd say in my early 20s, when my Smiths obsession was getting a bit out of hand and I couldn't get enough and I just needed Smiths constantly, I took to people I knew and I took to the internet and I looked for bands who sound like the Smiths. Obviously, you get the obvious ones. People like recommend The Cure and stuff like that. We obviously already knew The Cure, and they don't really have the same sound anyway. But you know, I wanted that jangly guitar. I wanted that vocal. I just wanted something. Gets to the point where you realise there's no one else really like the Smiths, to be honest. You know, but you can. And most of the bands that were recommended to me, no one came close, and I was getting disappointed. Within those group of bands, though, one kind of did stand out, and one kind of, I kind of thought, yeah, I get it, and it's kind of close. And that is this band and this album, Reading, Writing and Arithmetic from 1990 by the band The Sundays. This album I absolutely love this album. Now, similar to the genius of the Smiths, where it's the vocal complementing the guitar work that works so well, it's exactly the same, I would say, with the Sundays. Now, the vocalist Harriet Wheeler has got the most beautiful voice, and the guitaring is very, very Johnny Marr. Now, obviously, the most famous song is Here's Where the Story Ends. Now, I was first familiar with that song through the awful Tintin' Out dance cover that came out a few years later, and I hated that song. Yeah. I really hated it. So when I got hold of this and heard that come on here, I didn't even realise that they did the original. I quickly changed my opinion on the song because her voice makes that song what it is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Compared to, I can't remember who it was who sang on the Tintin' Out version, but the guitar is just heavenly. It's just jangly. It is very, very, very Johnny Marr. And I don't know where they're from. Are they from where the fuck are they from?
I actually don't know. No idea.
I can't remember where they're from. They're from England somewhere. But the song, every song's great, but the real standout for me is You're Not the Only One I Know. Oh my God, it's such a brilliant, brilliant song. I can't really talk enough about this album. I absolutely love it. Again, similar to the Laws, I think they're kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
I think they've been kind of left behind. I've been trying to track a vinyl version of this down for a while. I think it has recently been re-released, but you are paying a pretty penny. But trust me, if you're into the Smiths and you're not familiar with the Sundays, Harriet Wheeler, obviously it's a female vocal, but it's not Morrissey, and it's something different, but it works just as well. It's honestly, she's absolutely amazing. I'd really, really recommend these if you're a Smiths fan.
Cool. Right, fourth for me, I'm gone for Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. Another one that people might want to split hairs about, but personally I think if you're doing an indie record list and this doesn't get on it, there's something wrong. This is like a hugely massive, influential shoegaze album. Again, like we said about the law, there's a lot of lore around the recording of this. These were on Creation Records, and Kevin Shields, who's the front man and kind of, I think, plays almost all the stuff on this album, actually, to be fair. He went a bit mad. I think they did 19 studios, took him 2 years, allegedly cost 250 grand, which by today's, adjusted for inflation, is nearly 600 grand. Rumoured to have been part of the downfall of Creation having to go bankrupt. This came out in 91. I'm not sure when they went bankrupt, but it was only a few years later.
That's on Creation?
Yeah.
Is it Alan McGee's Creation?
Yeah, Alan McGee, yeah. And they got dropped after this as well, even though this is now a massive cult classic album, and maybe even more than a cult classic, it's just considered a classic. It's fucking brilliant. Like, so obviously a lot of shoegaze use like echo, and they use like the effects they use. He uses effects, but he uses his tremolo bar on his guitar, so as he strums it, he like and knocks it in and out of tune. Calls it the glide guitar, and it creates that really wavy, shoegazy kind of sound. Like I said, he just spent absolutely fucking hours and hours like creating samples of feedback and things for it. Doesn't sound like there's any samples on it to me, really, except for maybe one track. Unbelievable. Again, just beautiful, sweet melodies, simple songs, just caked in this droning kinds of feedback and interesting noises coming in and out. A stunning fucking record, one of my favourites.
My last choice is, I could get shot down and for this not being indie. I'm
having this.
Yeah, I think this is indie. I've gone for the second album by Dinosaur Jr. from 1987, You're Living All Over Me. I love Dinosaur Jr. I pretty much love their whole discography, especially the early,
amazing
early stuff. One thing I think Jay Mascis is a genius anyway,
yeah.
But one thing I really like about him from a vocal point of view and a delivery point of view, he reminds me of loads every time I listen to him. He fucking reminds me loads of Neil Young.
Okay, yeah.
Like his voice, you know what I mean? When you listen to those Neil Young albums, I think, and then I listen to Dinosaur Jr., it's like fucking hell, he reminds me of Neil Young quite a bit when he sings. Obviously, the first album's obviously more noise rocky kind of thing, but this is definitely more just like
what you call indie rock.
What would you call an indie rock album? I guess.
Yeah.
And I think Bug was after this, which was great. And then Where Have You Been? Amazing. All them albums, I love all of them. They're all great. Do you know what I mean? But I think the one that made me pick this was probably the song Raisins. I just love that song. That do 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 do. I just love it. It's just great. But yeah, it's one of them. Again, it can be a bit depressing at times, Dinosaur Jr. But again, it's there's a time for it, isn't there? Sometimes you find yourself in that mentality. So yeah, there you go. Dinosaur Jr., You're Living All Over Me.
Incredible. All right, last one for me. I've gone for The Lonesome Crowded West by Modest Mouse.
Why is the two of them?
It's a double album, isn't it? So
I thought this was an emo band.
Well, I'll get to that. Funny enough, that is in my my little notes here. But so that's their second album. So yes, some people have try and call them Midwest emo, and at times I think you can hear it for sure. Some of the guitars. But for me, nah, it branches much more into indie territory, and it's there's experimenting sounds. There's actually some DJ scratching on one of the tracks on there.
I've heard them be associated with dance music sometimes, these.
And it fucking works perfectly. Yeah. But that's a rare thing. But
Very
also
rare,
crops up on. No, I mean for this band, even like the scratching. It's in. I think it's Heart Cook's Brain on that album. Some of their best tunes are on there. They're a great band. A band I'm a big fan of. Up until even like their more polished stuff. Good News for People Who Love Bad News is also a fucking incredible record. Their debut album had the song Dramamine on it, which is definitely the one where you might think very Midwest emo with the guitar on it and that. But this gets noisy as fuck as well. Stripped down like to acoustic. Bankrupt on selling. Oh, man, what a beautiful piece of music that is. Just an incredible band. Lyrically, themes of disillusionment, stuff about religion, about the concrete jungle, the world's becoming. Incredible, like I say, very good. I love his vocal delivery because he's got a lisp as well. And his vocal delivery is very, again, in that emo, he kind of goes way out of tune and off key at times, but works perfect. But yeah, so there you go. That's my last pick.
That's us.
That's it. That's our indie picks, yeah.
There you go. Go ahead. Phase us out.
So, you know the score. Jump in the comments. Tell us what we've picked that you think is and isn't indie. Tell me what you would have picked.
Are you surprised there's no Oasis on there?
Well, yeah. And there was no real Britpop representation there, was there? Even though we grew up in that era. Yeah. And like, subscribe. Go ring the bell for some notifications. Jump on the socials, Instagram, Facebook. Come and give us some likes, follows, and messages. See you next week. It's